Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing tips for Sunday the 12th of November. But first, a quick recap on yesterday's performance. Well, what do I even say? I'm absolutely kicking myself for a start for being naive. I should have took the cash out. It's so tempting. The first two won, 13 to 2, 11 to 1. A non-runner. We put a stake on of £24.70. It was offering 241 or 251 after two races. I should have took the cash out, then put the bet on again in smaller stakes, but I didn't, and I'm kicking myself. I should have been sat here now with 10 times the stake after two races in the back pocket. We missed out by one goal on the over 2.5 goal trip. It doesn't bring the house down, that doesn't, but it would have made it so we'd pretty much broke even pretty much on the day. So let's get into Sunday. Well, I don't normally bet on a Sunday, but I do like the angle of these horses, and I'm going to talk you through it. So I put £10 on. It's a 30 pence each way, lucky 15, and a 50 pence each way accumulator. So the first selection is probably the most interesting. It's Mamoon Star at 7 to 1 in the 12:30 at Sandown. The only problem with this race is there's currently 8 runners. So there's a lot of horses in this race that aren't particularly well handicapped and question marks over them. There could be an half decent pace in this race. But this horse, Mamoon Star, I've looked at the breeding, and it's not just on the breeding, but that's what's like tipped me to picking this horse, or swayed me, should I say. So Mamoon Star, I've looked at the breeding, and it's bred to want a lot further than 2 miles. On its recent reappearance, it was brought back over 1 mile, 7.5 furlongs. It is crying out for a step up in trip. There's quite a few frontrunners in this race, and question marks over staying. So Mamoon Star, it was even held up over a distance that's too short for it. Well, for horses that are held up for a distance that's too short for it, can never get involved. And it does look like the non-stayers, because they'll gradually try and work their way into it, but then they'll just get outsped and the classed as weakening. Well, it hasn't weakened, but it's been outpaced. So I think the race is probably going to fall apart as they head towards probably 2 or 3 out. This is where I think this horse will get involved. I think it's 2.5 mile now, or 2 mile 5 furlong. I think it's a full brother to this horse. Ran over 2 mile regular. Ran okay, ran fine. But then it was stepped up straight away to 2.5 mile, and it came second in a big field. Then won its next race over 2.5 mile. They then dropped it back to 2 mile. This is the full brother I'm talking about. Then dropped it back to 2 mile, did nothing, and then they stepped up to 3 mile, and it ran okay. This horse is crying out for further. Is it good enough? Well, we're going to find out on the day. But I really like the look of the angle to this horse. Plus, unlike a lot of the others, it's had a recent run, whereas a lot of the others haven't. The second selection is Rock of Star at 9 to 2 in the 1:15 at Ffos last, paying 4 places instead of 3. This will be held up. I think it will like this more galloping track than it ran at Newton Abbot last time. It's won at Chepstow, I think, don't quote me, over further, but I'm expecting it to be staying on when a lot of the others are struggling. It's had a recent run, like I said, so it's fit, or it's fitter than the rest, or fitter than most of the rest. And Nick Schofield has won it before, and he takes the ride today. I think it's got every chance. The next selection is Classic Anthem at 4 to 1 in the 1:40 at Sandown. And I've forgotten about it. I'll tell you what, let me get into it. 1:40 at Sandown. You won't want to see this properly. All I'm doing, I'm just refreshing myself. Oh yeah, I remember. So Classic Anthem, it's trained by Jim Ball. It's had a recent run over hurdles. It's not a recent run. It's had a run over hurdles, unlike a lot of the others. You don't normally see many of Jim Ball's horses being 4 to 1 when you've got quite big and powerful stables. However, a lot of the stables, I do believe, south of the border is first time over hurdles. Could be a superstar. It's by Nicky Henderson. Could be a superstar. It's odds on currently. The next one, I know you can't see this, so it's frustrating, but it's Impact de Bonheur by Paul Nicholls. This horse doesn't want this step back to 2 mile. It wants 2.5 mile, if not further. Spirit Bay by Nigel Twiston-Davies could be interesting. It's also interesting the fact that Sam Twiston-Davies isn't on it. I don't think that's a positive. It's a negative because Jordan Naylor's on it. It's the first time I've ever heard Laws, but it could be okay. It's 5-1, but I like the look of Classic Anthem. It did okay on its debut over Hurdlaws, and I'm expecting it to run again. I'm not a big fan of the jockey Robert Dunn. I was originally, but he's let me down quite a few occasions since, and I've seen him. I was ridden a few horses where they've been big prices, and you can clearly see they've only been ridden for handicap mark. So the next selection, yeah, Iontech Cheval at 12-1 in the 250 at Sandown, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse is trained by Alistair Ralph. There are question marks in this race. In this race, there is actually loads of pace. You've got Jupiter de Geet or Geet. I don't know if you remember from last year. I don't mean this to be disrespectful. It's an absolute nut job. The tapes go back and it just basically bolts. There is a couple of fancied horses that also like to lead, so that could throw the race wide open. This horse, it's ran well twice after a break. It doesn't mean it's going to run well this time after a break, but hopefully it does. I looked at Alistair Ralph's stable, and they have had a winner in the last few days. And also, I've been looking. I'll tell you what I also look at, and just take a look at this and. So this is the trainer recent performance. So don't bother too much about the big prices. So recently there's been a 14-1 winner that is had at Kelso. This is what I like the look of, because it shows you they're pretty much performing. They're not performing badly. So all right, it fell. But it joined Leaders 2 out, fell last. 0. So basically, these horses are running up to their form. That one only ran slightly below, but it was 125-1. But it only ran very slightly below what was expected. And the one at the bottom that you can hardly see came second, and that was +1. So the horses that are running are generally running pretty well. You've even got the 100-1er. It even had a chance. All right, it was beaten 41 lengths in the end, but it was 100-1. I can't say too much about that, because obviously it was soon eased anyway. So for a small trainer, his stable are running pretty well. So those are the selections for. So basically, that Iontech Cheval is basically, I expect it to, because it is normally held up, and I think the crazy what could be potentially crazy pace will hopefully pay dividends when they head towards 2 or 3 out, when the horses that have gone off too fast start to weaken. That's how I see it. It could be another horse that's given patient tactics that wins, but I think this is the most obvious one, hoping that it's fit, that could take advantage. So if you can give me a like or subscribe, that's absolutely great. The very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.